Is it going? Okay, so I went to my first punk show a couple years back, and as I walked up, and I could hear the music beginning to start already, and I went in and got my hand stamped and bought my ticket, and went in, and it was a little intimidating, scary fellas and loud music, and but anyhow, I stayed, and music started, and I went with it. So today I'm going to inform you about punk rock, its history, and what it's all about. So some of you may have no real solid idea of what punk is, and I'm going to hopefully help expand your knowledge on it. And some of you may have a good idea of what it is, or even involved in the genre, or actively involved or listen to it. And I'm going to hopefully expand your knowledge through my own personal experiences, maybe on the history of it. So I'm personally involved in the punk rock scene, and I go to shows and help organize where I can. And since I was interested in it from a young age, I read books and I read articles and watched documentaries and all that. So we're going to look at the history of punk rock and what it's all about. Okay. So the early history, it started out with garage bands in the 60s and 70s. Bands like Paul Revere and the Raiders and the Sonics, some bands people have heard of, and it started out and it got popular. It was something easy for kids to jump into with power chords and distortion on general electric guitars and all that. So it was something people could easily pick up and just start going with and playing. And so yeah, and then anyway, that transitioned into proto punk, and this spawned some of the most popular bands from from around the 60s and 70s. Bands like the Stooges, MC5, David Bowie, and yeah, and then eventually punk rock began to take roots, and one of the main form of this was the Sex Pistols and the Ramones. And according to academic.mu.edu, last access October 21st, 2014, they were marked as one of the most influential bands of the time, and both were actually introduced into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when the Sex Pistols declined. And here we have both of those iconic bands as they're most famously known. And anyway, later, about the 90s, it was adapted into, sort of began to be funneled into pop punk and more of a mainstream version of punk rock. It was seen as a corporate takeover of the genre. But anyway, it persisted, and today you have new genres like noise, grindcore, and even things like folk punk. And so you've just been given a brief history of punk rock. Now we're going to look at the style and aesthetic of punk. So something that really captivates a lot of people is the hair. So a lot of punks have unique hairstyles and looks. And, the mohawk is one of the most popular hairstyles, and according to www.todayifoundout.com, last access October 19, 2014, the term Mohawk was derived from the Mohawk Indians, from the Mohawk Valley, and it was first worn by the guitarist of the Plasmatics, and it was supposedly based off the Robert De Niro Taxi Driver, and gained popularity from there. And so, there's everything in between. I've seen things from rat tails to spiked hair to everything, you name it. So, and the dress is a lot of DIY clothing, whether that be, do it yourself, whether that be from making your own pants from scratch or just patching things up and, putting your band logos on it and all that. Lots of patches and studs. But, there's really no specific look. There's, lots of different, everyone has their own style. So, there's no rules about it. Another thing is piercings, tattoos, in lots of cultures, but specifically, in punk. And even more recently, there's been intense body modifications. Here we have some examples of the hair. We got the mohawk and some other styles, and some examples of modifications there. Split tongue and all that. So piercings. So we talked about the looks of punk. Now we're going to talk about what it's all about. So punk rock means so many different things, so many different people, so I'm going to try to condense it for me personally. One of the most important aspects of punk rock is the political side of it. And this can include anarchists, communists, and even socialists. The most popular political branch in the punk rock scene is anarcho-communism, which is a form of anarchism advocating abolishing the state and capitalism in favor of a horizontal network of voluntary associations to which everyone can determine the free will. So that's according to libcom.org, last access October 20th, 2014. And it also includes environmental and social justice issues. It also is really connected with self-DIY ethics, do it yourself, self-sustaining, anything from community gardens to self-learning, and even squatting. As things like easy access music, both to obtain and to play. Jump in and start getting involved. As well as community, things like shows, organizing, and even just hangouts, a place for kids to belong and all that. So, yeah. So we have just looked at many aspects of punk rock and been informed on the subject. We discussed its history, what it means to many people. So yeah, anyway, back to the story. I walked in, music started and everything started happening, and music was wild and started moshing, everyone was ramming into each other, and I actually fell down, and I was immediately picked up. And, everyone made sure I was still into it, and so yeah, they gave me a really good idea of first impression of it all. And so punk rock may never change the world, but sure changed mine. So thank you all very much. You could all come and show you're still present. That's the end of my speech. So that's the